Good morning, Giants. Welcome to Wake Up with Giants TV. I delayed a little bit there. Have you ever wondered how to live from the heart? We got a great video for you. Good morning, Giants. Welcome to Wake Up with Giants TV. I'm Nick Smith here with your host. Today is going to be Mr. Ryan Morris and our special guest, Paul Cardall. We've got a great show, but before we dive into that, make sure you subscribe on YouTube. Over there's a picture somewhere by Ryan's head. Yep. So subscribe on YouTube, ding the bell. Make sure you're following us on Wake Up with Giants TV. And if this speaks to you, share it with your friends and family, because we could use as many Giants as we can get. And so, Ryan, will you introduce Paul?
Yeah, if it's a little bit delayed, it's because Paul Cardall is sitting in my living room and I'm in the dining room. We couldn't hold hands during this because the echo.
You kept trying to hold my hand.
I know, I'm sorry.
Could you just go to another room, man? Come on.
I just kind of like reach across the table.
Oh,
He's got that tendency of doing that.
They're so soft.
Oh my goodness. Well, Paul Cardall, if you don't know, is one of the best piano players on God's green earth. He's an amazing piano player. He's won multiple awards, huge awards in his industry, touched the lives of countless people. He has a podcast called All Heart with Paul Cardall. He has an adventure show. This is a cool thing because I got to be a part of this one. He All Heart Adventures. So if you catch that, that's on YouTube. It also has its own Facebook page. I think it's got its own life going on. It's amazing.
And he's got an amazing hat on. Where'd you get that?
This is everybody needs to have this hat. In fact, I've had so many people ask me, I want that hat. And I said, well, what do you think it means? And some of them have interesting concepts, but other people have said like, wow, that makes me feel like empowered.
Huh.
And it was interesting because, in Wyoming, Ryan and I went camping in Wyoming. We built a sweat lodge. I got to see him a little half naked. It was a little awkward, but it was an incredible experience. But I'm coming back from Wyoming. I'm at the gas station. And this tough dude, this trucker dude's like, dude, I like the hat. I was like, oh, cool. My buddy Ryan gave it to me, and I got to tell him a little bit about what you guys do. And he's like, I want a hat. I said, oh, well, you're not taking this one. So you'll have to go on the website and get this guy. And so, yeah, but thank you for having me, and thank you for the hat.
And beard required,
mostly required. No hair. You don't have to have hair, though.
Don't have to have hair.
No.
That's the beauty of all
has some.
Yeah,
you get a lot more than we do it.
This is age. It's just age. It's wisdom. It's
it's the Jack Nicholas.
Yeah.
Jack Nicholson.
As it gets, man. It's as good as it gets.
As good as it gets. Well, we're gonna, on this show, we've had you on before as a guest, and we talked about your history. And so this time, let's dive into some philosophy of life, if we could. And we'll talk about whatever comes up. If somebody wants to throw comments in and questions that we can talk about, we'll do that. But let's talk about your show that you're doing now. Why did you bring that show to the world? What brought that about?
The All Heart Adventures. I, having survived a heart transplant before with only half a heart, all these surgeries, I could not climb mountains. I could not go skiing. Being born in Utah, I was not. Excuse me. I was not able to do a lot of things. So I always dreamed about doing cool stuff, And then when I got the heart, it was like, man, I got the second chance at life. And everybody talks about their bucket list. Like, what are you going to do what are these dreams of what you would love to do? And most people never do them. They're so busy buying crap that they can't carry with them anywhere. They end up having yard sales and garage sales. So for me, it's like, I want to buy a memory. because I can carry that with me everywhere. I can do that with my kids. I can do that with my family, and I can do it with friends. So, Nick, we invited you. You couldn't make it, but we went up to Wyoming. We invited my good friend Jordan Bell, who was on the season 8 History Channel's Alone, which is like a
great
survival show.
Yeah, killer
show. Oh my
show.
gosh.
Yeah.
The guy is like totally into wilderness survival stuff. So I wanted to create a show that kind of highlighted friends and things that you can do that get you out of your comfort zone. So the latest episode that we dropped earlier this morning, which really it's on my website, paulcardall.com, where all those are, but we built a sweat lodge in the mountains, like a sauna. And Ryan was instrumental in getting us there, feeding us. He's such an incredible cook. Even Jordan was like,
seriously,
he's like, dude, if you were a girl, I would marry you right now. I don't think my wife would mind even if you came in and just lived with us. so it was a good time.
It's kind of, what's funny about that story is when they had the idea to build the sweat lodge, right? Yeah. And I'm cooking and doing some stuff and cleaning up, doing things, and I look over and they've got they look like MacGyver over there. They got a toothpick, a paper clip, and some duct tape. And they're going to town. And they're like, we could use this. We could get pine boughs. And they were going to cut up the whole forest to make this. I was thinking log cabin sweat lodge. And I was like, wait a second, hold on a sec. I think I got a sweat lodge, and I had one of these pop-up beach shelters.
Yeah,
in the trailer, and everybody was like, what the heck, you have everything. It was awesome.
You're like, hey, we don't even need the fire, because if we just start talking about exercise, I'll start sweating.
I sweat like crazy. Yeah. I don't run, so just thinking about it, poof, instant heat.
Yeah.
That's the thing, Nick, with Ryan, this, anybody who has been watching the show or following the Giants, Ryan is MacGyver. He literally has, I think he's like the A-team. There's always something that he has. I'm like, where's a shovel? Oh, he's got a shovel. Where's a hammer? He's got a hammer. Hey, I'd like some incredible, amazing stew with chicken, and we're making that for dinner. He's got everything. So
he's got like the magician's hat. If you go into his garage, he'll pull out whatever you want. It's like, I got one of those.
That's awesome.
So I want to touch back on the heart transplant, because some people don't know your story. So if you could touch on that for just a minute, tell us a little bit about that history. And
yeah, it's wild.
Yeah.
Can you imagine going into a lab after a major operation and they said, "There's your heart. Would you like to hold it?"
Wow.
I came into this world with only half a heart. My mom and my dad say I got operated on as an infant. I wasn't even supposed to make it.
Yeah.
So I grew up with that, hey, you're not even supposed to be here. And for me, it's kind of I didn't really plan retirement. I planned I hope there's an afterlife. I want to figure that all out. And so I'm I kind of became obsessed with the next stage. But that's how my life, and every day was a gift. But it doesn't make you a better person. Doesn't make you empowered to be kind. You still have anger and frustrations and sadness and grief and all these things. But I think all the emotions are even more magnified. So I had countless surgeries as a kid. I couldn't do a lot of sports. I was always the team manager. I was telling you, Nick, earlier that, look, Clark Kent was the team manager as well for the football team, and he became Superman. So you never know. And every one of us has something. It's considered a weakness, but I think it's a superhuman strength, because you take that and you go, you know what? I don't care what people say, or, I'm going to use this to thrive in life. And personally, because of the hard thing, I was led to music, and music became my way of expressing how I feel about things. And Yeah, man. So it's been just this up, up and down road of dealing with the heart issue and surviving in life like all of us and all the ups and downs.
Yeah, yeah, I can imagine, for many people that are watching this show is like you said, there's something. We were all born with something, or we
Yeah.
came into this world or we were taught something, and then we get this challenge to overcome it, kind of the hero's journey. And I want to touch on the idea that you have somebody else's heart in you and
Right.
how that maybe impacts is you have some other person's heart. Did you take on any of the characteristics of this guy, and what's that
That's
been like to adapt to this new heart?
that's a very good question that I get asked a lot.
Yeah.
We know for a fact, I've talked to neurologists, I've talked to different scientists, that we have within us, in our DNA, embedded muscle memory.
Yeah.
If somebody plays the piano, when they get dementia, they're still able to play piano. If you learn to ride a bike, you can go without riding a bicycle for 20 years and take a ride back up again. But also the emotions that are associated with that we think come from the frontal lobe or
Right.
sections of our body. The muscle memory triggers the dopamine to empower you to think and feel a certain way. So the two go hand in hand. So the poets of the past are actually right, the head and the heart. And so my donor, unfortunately, he struggled. He was an immigrant from Mexico. He was a state amateur boxing champion, but his family was like deported.
That's why you hit so hard.
Dude,
Holy
I'm like,
cow. Yeah.
I told my wife, I said, it's the heart. I'm sorry.
Soft hands,
It's
hard
the
punch.
I
heart.
know, but my wife can kick my trash anyway. She's a black belt in Taekwondo,
Yeah.
Tina's
but
amazing.
yeah. So anyway, but having the heart of another person, man. I mean, we could go into like have the emotions of how hard that is to know that someone died, and because of their death, you're alive.
Hmm.
Like this whole idea that doctors are raising people from the dead. So as a Christian, that makes me go, oh, well, the concept of Jesus raising himself from the dead or God raising somebody from the dead, that's like common sense to me because I was raised from the dead by a human, by a doctor, by an incredible man. Yeah, and so, but what happened is because my donor, like, he got really depressed and he didn't have a lot for him in a small town, being a star athlete and being an immigrant, and you know, so he got depressed and he ended up taking his life.
Hmm.
But that's what's weird, man, is because he took his life. He signed up to be an organ donor, which everyone should be an organ donor. It's so easy. Just go to donatelife.net. 2 minutes. And anyways, because of him, like I am alive. And then he empowered other people. They
Yeah.
got kidneys, liver, lungs. There was a movie years ago called 7 Pounds with Will Smith, where he is going to die because he's devastated. His wife has died. And he signs up to be an organ donor. And then he ends up taking his life and saving 7 people.
Hmm.
Huh.
That's like my donor, man. So every day is like, beating in my chest is some other person's heart.
Do you think there's some healing in that, not only for you, but for this gentleman that gave his life that way? If like the healing of the heart.
Yeah, because I'm a big believer in the afterlife. Um, I'm a big believer that those that have gone on or transitioned, whatever that means or is, that they're able to heal. We all at some point heal from our trauma, whether this life or the next. And we work really hard daily to try to figure out how to heal. All these remedies,
Yeah.
like what you guys are doing, are empowering people to think freely and to recognize their value, that they can become giants. And when you get a second chance at life and it's at the sacrifice of another human, You know, it's a miracle. It's a freaking miracle. But I think of my own mom. She sacrificed her body to bring me into the world. Our mothers sacrificed their body to bring us into the world. Like, that's insane. It's incredible.
Yeah. So how does somebody do that without necessarily taking their life? How do they sacrifice in a way to give back to the world? Maybe if they're in that space of darkness, because I had somebody post this morning that's usually pretty strong in their life and they're struggling, and not just one person, but multiples. So maybe sacrifice isn't the word for it, but how do they give back to themselves and others? I don't know. Does that make sense where I'm going with that?
Yeah, I do. I'd like, you know, for example, we're up camping, filming this all-head adventure, and there's Ryan serving everybody. He is serving, like, it's part of his nature. He doesn't even like think like, hey, you know, this is a lot of work. Can you guys help me do the dishes? Can you help me do this or that? No, he just serves. And then you see this joy inside of him. And so it's like, I just got a new friend, Ryan. Right?
Hey,
I got a new giant right
who let
here.
the dog out?
Yeah.
I don't
Don't
know.
make
I don't
it
know.
sneeze.
No, I know. Don't
You
make
guys will
it
be at
sneeze.
the doggy ER if that thing sneezes.
You know, well, he knows a good man's best friend. It's
Yeah.
okay. I'll take care of him, her, whatever.
It's Desi, the
Non-
dog.
non-
She's great.
Non-binary dog, whatever.
Um,
But all right, but I don't have any treats. Sorry. Coffee? No, I but Nick,
Disney
what's
is
your-
one that will, if you need an eye,
Oh,
she'll freely give it.
she's given an eye several times straight
She's
out of her own head.
She's a dog donor, you know.
She's a dog donor.
But I think obviously, you know, it's the standard concept that, you know, to give of yourself is to find yourself, to lose of yourself. We're so obsessed with like our own world, and we're always on social media, and we always are thinking like, man, I got to post something today. I need likes, I need follows. That's what's weird in a certain world is
Yeah.
we're getting to a point now where we're becoming so narcissistic as a society, and so, you know, adulation is poison. And the best thing to do, like, for Ryan and I, like, you know, and Nick, when we go on these adventures, is we don't have cell phones.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when you can shut off your phone and remove yourself from society, like literally go outside, the world opens up to you in a profound way. You're not obsessed with the craziness of, you know, the vaccine stuff, the what the president is doing or not doing, you know, troops being killed, people being, you know, the 400 people were bombed after the troops left and killed. All these things weigh on us, and it's like we don't feel like we have the right to be happy because we see so much misery. You know,
Yeah. So as a theme, like hang on to that. So your thought thread there. So hang on to that so we can come back to it. But as a theme here, as an idea, is that to get back into the heart, we have to step out of ego, and ego is really about protection, right?
Yes, survival.
So it's this idea of survival. And so when we see things that are fearful in the world, we start to protect ourselves, or if we don't feel we're measuring up to the ideals of others or ourselves, we get depressed and anxious. And that's all ego stuff going on. And so when you know that you're whole exactly as you are, and you're able to step away from the world, in a sense, you get back into the heart. Is that accurate?
It's very accurate. We don't take time out, you know. God commands us to rest.
Yeah.
But people take that as, oh, we got to go out and work. But no, we have to rest. Our body needs rest, but not just our body, our minds, from all the chaos in order to function. You know, it's kind of like we need to constantly go back into a cocoon.
Yeah. I saw a meme the other day. There's two monks sitting side by side, and one of the monks says, "Nothing makes sense." And the other monk said, "Yeah, it does."
That reminds me of the two good friends, the
Yeah.
Christian.
It's like monk
and the
dad jokes.
Yeah, monk dad jokes.
That reminds me of the Christian friend sitting next to her Muslim friend. The Christian's reading the Bible and the Muslim's reading the Quran, and the Christian looks over to the Muslim and says, "Ha! Apparently you're going to hell." And the Muslim looks over to the Christian and goes, "Ha! Apparently you are too." And yet they're there in the moment together, having different opinions.
Yeah,
smiling and laughing about it.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Like Ryan shared a video the other day. Do you want to share about that a little bit, Ryan?
Yeah, for sure. Amber actually sent it to me. It was a video that was a Heineken commercial, and apparently it had been done a few years ago, and I'd never seen it. And two people from polar opposite views, and it could be political or whatever. Just they're totally different views. You know, one maybe is a feminist, one's that doesn't like feminists. You know, so they give little backstory clips throughout the whole thing, and they bring them both into a room, and there's little challenges that they have to do together, but they both don't know about each other. And so they're just two humans standing in a room, and then they have to talk and interact in these challenges. And so they start doing these challenges, and they get to know each other outside of, like just saying hi and being friendly and building a relationship of trust. And then pretty soon they built this bar, and they're like, "Whoa, we built a bar." And then there's, they got 2 beers, and then they have to go to the next challenge. And the next one is, before they start that challenge, video clips play. And it talks about their views. It's them talking about their views. And, one's looking at the other like, "Are you serious right now?" The other one looks over at the other one like, "What? Really?" And then they have a choice to make. Sit down and talk and set their differences aside and drink a Heineken, or walk away. And they all choose to sit down and talk because they've realized that they have more in common than less in common. The media, the world, they want you to believe that you don't. And it's okay to have differing views. Like there's tons of people in the tribe that have differing views than I do. I know they do because I'm friends with them. But I can hold space and love them for who they are, talk to them, and see them for the giant they are and what they're doing, and just be with them. Just celebrate their humanness and their amazingness, their miracle, the love, and build on that, and support them. Like there's things I'll show up to that I might not necessarily agree with, but they're there, and I'll support them because I love them as humans and as people. And that right there, like holding that space, that's coming from the heart. That's a Paul Cardall thing to do. You're really good at that too.
That's you, man.
I'll tell you what though, like here's something I observed from Paul from day one. The first time I met Paul, sitting in a hotel lobby, he doesn't know me from Adam. Comes in and sits down to the right of me. I'm on a bench seat, and there's a couch or something right by me, and he asked if anyone was sitting there, and he sat down. Doesn't know me. Says, "Hey, how you doing? Are you here? Are you waiting on anybody? Are you here for the Richard Paul Evans event type thing?" I said, "No, I'm not an author. Nix that." And he just introduced himself, and I recognized him because I was introduced through a friend of mine. His name is Jason Allis. And Jason would run to your music, Paul, because it's so peaceful. He runs like 100-mile, 150-mile, 200-mile runs. In fact, he's doing a 240-mile run here soon, and listening to your music as he runs, right? So you're inspirational. I already knew that, and I thought it was you, but I wasn't 100% sure. And then you said, "Hey, I'm Paul," and I was like, "Yeah, I know." And from day one, I've watched it over and over and over again. You'll go up to people you've never met before and just talk to them and find common ground and love them for that. Like, you meet people, you see fans. I see this with your fans. I remember last year going up to Wyoming, and on the way back, Paul's, as soon as he got service, he's answering emails from his fans. and telling me stories about how people, like, he wishes that he could talk to all of them, because that's the kind of human that he is. He wants to be able to go in, and he would love to be able to go in. I'm going to get emotional, to go in and help them bear their burdens and fix some of their issues, be able to be there with them as they're suffering and take some of that on, because that's the kind of guy Paul Cardall is. And I know he operates from the heart. If more people were like Paul Cardall,
Well, dude,
this world would be a way better place.
well, stop. Listen, I don't need an obituary right now, but and I appreciate the funeral talk.
Paul was the best guy I ever knew.
Yeah, bottom line, man, I think that's what this Wake Up with Giants is all about, is that everybody out there is really interested in being empowered to find joy in life, and I found joy in meeting strangers that, to me, they're not strangers, they're children of God. And God, I don't know them, but God does. And so I'm like, yeah, I want to know this person. But it doesn't make me, like, honestly, dude, I want to talk about this with you guys, because I know a lot of people, we reach out and we do that, and for a lot of us it's easy to, like, talk to strangers.
Yeah.
But what about the people in our personal lives? It is, when they really know your baggage and your weaknesses. And, my wife, she's a fitness competitor, worked on Wall Street. She's a street smart, tough, born in East Cleveland, immigrant parents, grew up in a tavern, 3 years old, drinking the froth off a beer. But the most disciplined person, doesn't drink, doesn't smoke, educated. She's like, man, she's my drill sergeant. So she calls me out on all my crap. And it's like, I'm a, like, it is a long naughty list for Santa Claus. So how do you guys, you reach out and you help people, but in the inner circle that you don't let those people in, how do you function in the same way that you're able to reach out to strangers?
Yeah. Is that a question or a rhetorical?
That is rhetorical. That is also a question, because I want advice. I want to know how to be a better husband and a better father.
Well, I'm going to hit on that one for a bit. We each have our own value system and what aligns for us. And when we get true to that and hold honesty around that, owning our truths, whatever they are, and they can be different for different people. When we own our truths, then we can hold space for other people's truths. There's no attack on our truths. It just is what it is. And honesty is just owning it. And so when you can do that, you can also allow space for other people to hold their truths, whatever they are. I mean, we look at the Tribe of Giants and the League of Giants, and we have people from all backgrounds. We have people with religious views, political views, sexual views, you name it, it's in there. And they're all operating on truths and value systems that they've created over time. And the moment you step on those and start attacking those as though we're looking for right or wrong, then that's where we start seeing this political agenda pushing, or this polarization where we're fighting against each other. It's, the image of the two people fighting over a 6 or a 9, just depending on the perspective that they're looking at. Right. And somebody just mentioned, I think it was Amanda mentioned, that emotional maturity is being able to hold space for opposing views simultaneously. And when you own your truths, you're able to do that. You can have your view, but you can also open up to where you can see somebody else's view. And there's a possibility in that of seeing something different. I wrote in my book, The Art of Accomplishment, about bubble perspectives and how we each go around in our bubble and we're walking around bumping into other people saying, this is the way the world is, and this is how it works, and I'm right and you're wrong, and they bump into each other. And then the one that really opens up is the one that says, I have my views and perspectives, but I'm open to seeing it a little differently. Steve Hardison is masterful at this. He has his views, but man, can that guy hold space for other people. Paul Cardall, bouncing around, holding his views, but man, does he hold space for other people. That's a little bit of a rant. So what comes up for you inside of that?
Well, my question on that, you say own it. My wife always says, just own it. own it.
Yeah.
You know, so like it's like I'm listening to my wife here. She's a lot better looking, but the bottom line is, when you say own it, does that mean like you admit you're wrong, like, or do you just go? I mean, what does that mean? How do you actually own it in a relationship where you really, you want that relationship to endure, you want it to thrive, you want it to
Yeah.
last as forever,
Man. Yeah. I can tell you, I know how to get divorced.
Well, I do too. I mean, I've done that, but family, I think, really is, they are the refuge, that it is the safe harbor, because it's where you always go back
Yeah.
when it hits a fan. But then the irony in family is that they know you as the person that you were raised with. If you don't maintain those solid relationships of communicating your value and understanding their value, because you can go to a funeral and you can hear siblings talk about the person that died, but it's usually, hey, when we were kids they used to do this and this and this, nothing about their accomplishments as an adult. And so there seems to be this barrier that exists within that circle of relationships. So when you say own it,
Yeah.
own your truth, does that mean not run from it? Not, does it mean declare it? Like
Yeah.
I
Let me
I wear a
give an
cross
example.
now. Yeah, like I wear a cross now, but I have Mormon friends and family that look at that and like, why do you carry a burden? And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
This is the solution for me.
Yeah. So I grew up doing chores. My mom created a chore chart, and every day we'd go in and we'd find our name and we'd move across to the date
I
and
think
look
every
up, and that
mom
was our
creates a chore
chore.
chart.
And so we'd have this chore to clean up aspects of the house. So what I've learned through the divorce, especially, is that ownership is not only owning my truths, but cleaning up where I've imposed those truths on others where they didn't belong there.
Interesting.
And so I look at my ex-wife as an example here. We've developed a friendship and relationship after the divorce that allowed us, even at the wedding, to come together and share a cry together about our daughter. Just she's moving on in her life, to hug, to talk. It took some cleaning up to do. There was a point in my marriage where my version of ownership was like what you just shared about the cross, is I would put my views over there like somebody else needed to have the same views. And the truth is that might not align for somebody. And where I've imposed my views on somebody else, there's an opportunity to clean up. And so ownership is also cleaning up. Like when you own a car, you go and you take it to the car wash. You own a house, you clean it up. You keep the yard cleaned and maintained. You have the thing, but you also maintain it. And if it impacts somebody else, you also maintain that. So
Yeah, that's good. That's good. No, I agree with a lot of that. I think it's interesting how it's more difficult though within, and I think maybe it's because we know the other person, we care about that person. And Ryan mentions love,
yeah,
and other people have mentioned, just you have to completely accept, the truth of other people. With a stranger, like you can go out and you can empower somebody and encourage somebody, but you don't think, you probably will never see that person again. Because so you've almost in a way put up a wall, even though you're doing a good thing.
yeah.
You're putting up a wall to where you're not allowing that, and the more like Ryan and I got to know each other, and Nick, we've gotten to know each other, you can see like my flaws and stuff like that. And I think it's beautiful when we see each other's imperfections. But in relationships that you want to give and take, I think one of the other things I heard that was really helpful was allow for there to be space.
Yeah.
Because you want to smother that incredible woman. You can't get enough of that woman. You can't be like, you are so madly in love, but love is also let her
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That,
Let it
that's
breathe.
like, how often do we say that we're loving somebody from the space of fear? I'm doing it because I love you. I'm doing it because I care about you. But the truth behind it, the honesty, the ownership is I'm
Yes.
scared, right? But I don't want you to hurt yourself, or I don't want you to get hurt, is what we say, and we put
Or
on this
hurt me.
facade, right?
Yeah.
Or hurt me, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's fear,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
fear's not a heart-based emotion.
I don't have, my brain does not connect to my heart anymore because there's no nerve. They severed that. So the heart works now independently on pressure. Ironically, it functions
Talk
on
about
pressure.
that, yeah. Wow, talk about that.
That goes into another path.
Yeah,
But
let's branch out. We're all about that. So
yeah, I mean,
severing that.
isn't that weird though that when they take the heart out of the body, they completely remove all nerves? So
Huh.
like you guys, like everybody that has a heart that's their own, you function in exercise like a helicopter. You can just boom, 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 and go, you know, and then come back, boom, 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 and your heart just is fine. Me, I remember the first time I played basketball after I got the heart transplant 12 years ago. I was running around, and all of a sudden my body, I was so hot. I was so like hot, and blood was going up and down my veins, and like I was sweating, and I was like, I called my wife. I'm like, I think I'm having a heart attack or something. I am so worried. I do not know what the heck is going on. And you know what she said? That's why they call it a warm up. You are exercising. You are, and then bring on the heat for the NBA finally made sense to me. Like, oh, okay, the guys are on fire because they're exercising. And that's what's interesting is I'm like a jet. I have to warm up slowly, but then once I'm off, man, I can't stop. And if I stop exercising, when I do, if I sit down, my heart will pound for the next 20 minutes, like it's still in exercise mode. So that also affects my mindset when it comes to relationships or things that trigger trauma. Is it's hard to slow down.
Hmm.
So if I gotta go to the airport and get on a plane, I'm like, boom, I'm going. And sometimes it's like, oh, why am I so far ahead of the person I'm with? And it's because I have this mindset. I've got to get this done. It's like an emergency.
Hmm.
So it's harder to slow down. But you can use that kind of thing to your advantage because that's what's empowered me to build a successful company, a successful music business where I don't slow down, and I've been
There's
able to
there's not a harder working person in the music industry, I don't think, than Paul Cardall. Like COVID hit, and this guy was like a springboard. It wasn't like, oh, this is
Yeah.
happening, slow down. It was whoop, like ramped it into
people,
full
man,
gear.
COVID was crazy. People needed music. Music was like flowing. We made a cool record. Even though I like piano music, it's all piano. Like I started out just doing calm, soothing piano. Like if you don't fall asleep by song 5, I failed you. Literally, I'm surprised your friend runs to my music because I'd be like, I want to lay down and take a nap. But I even listen to my own music at night because it's the only one I can fall asleep to.
Huh.
But we decided to make that album The Broken Miracle, which was about everybody being welcome to the table. And so it's kind of what you guys are doing, like the diversity of players on the record. Well, like David Archuleta, who's an LDS kid from Utah, to Tyler Glenn, who was like the furthest thing from all that. In Neon Trees, we had
Ty
Rachel
Herndon.
Young. Yeah, Ty Herndon. Ty Herndon, he was the first country artist to come out. But then I had Matt Hammett, the lead singer of Sanctus Real, one of the biggest Christian bands of all time. And I thought it was cool because I had every seat at the table of everybody who believes in a certain lifestyle or way, because I don't want to sit at a table where everybody's the same.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not interesting at all. Thank you, Steve Hardison.
September wins. You'll have to talk about that too here in a second.
That's
But
cool.
go through your thoughts still, because
But I think that's what's interesting is, like in the Christians, I think in the Christian narrative, it's been hijacked. This whole diversity, it's been hijacked by funded pastors trying to build churches patterned after political things. But if you go back into the beginning, like God creates a garden and there's diversity and variety and there's all
Yeah,
kinds of things
yeah,
going on in that. And then all of a sudden, everybody's trying to make one type of garden. Well,
yeah.
I'm just gonna be in charge of the roses. Well, can you imagine like a garden of just roses?
I'm waving at a fly. It's not you.
you're like, hey,
I'm waving at my family. I'm waving at my group family text message. Sorry.
So I've got
My family keeps, there's a wedding last night, so it's like constant group text messaging.
I've got a
Sorry.
thought around the table. We've had people come into our space that want it to be the same. Like, this person doesn't have belong here. How dare you have no decency around this thing, right? And I won't throw out names here, but this occurred. And the diversity is what makes the League of Giants and the Tribe of Giants. Our differences are what makes us who we are. And so, not holding space, we've never kicked anybody out of the group unless they've been belligerent,
Right.
which it happens. But in most cases, people choose to stay at the table or they choose to leave the table. But the thing is, the table, like the League of Giants, Tribe of Giants, is the space where people can come to the table, where they can enjoy and explore that diversity and really explore themselves and become a giant in their own way. And I love what you're saying, that it would be boring if we were all Nick Smith. In fact, I've done a show by myself and it's nothing compared to what it's like to have a Ryan Morris on with me. Yeah,
thank you.
it adds flavor.
I love that.
And so the
A
tribe,
little salty.
he's a little salty.
But Nick, what's interesting though is, you're talking about you're being at the table alone. There's this concept that, people, in the afterlife get all this stuff for themselves, all this glory, all this, there's this reward system. But bottom line, man, you're at the table, you're like, I need my buddy. I need my buddy. So you reach out to him like, what, dude, are you going to come to the table? Right. I think this concept of the table is we get to the table and we're like, there are people missing.
Yeah. Yeah.
There are people missing. And instead of being like, hey, well, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to enjoy this nice stew that Ryan made, let's go get everybody to enjoy the stew together. And then we can just heat it up. Bring in
the dog.
He says, bring in the dog. It will eat all the leftovers.
It's true, though. I mean, and if somebody leaves the table and they shouldn't have left the table, you want to go get them, come back, and there's space for it. And I think that's the beauty of our messages. And I've seen you operate, Paul, is you've stepped away from certain tables because it no longer aligned from you. Like, if there were a concept of multiple tables, is that table no longer served where you were going. So you stepped away and moved to another. It's like going to a wedding party and there's all these tables set up and you bounce around to the one that fits the best.
Have you ever seen The Wedding Singer? It's Adam Sandler. I feel like table number 9.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's what it's high school.
And table number 9.
It's high school, because in high school you go in, you get your tray. Where am I sitting? And and in high school for me, I was like, well, what table do I want to sit at today? It was never, okay, I'm going over to this table.
Yeah.
After I got done by the vending machine asking people for $1, I just kidding. Hey, you got $1, man?
Handling at school.
Yeah.
My mom has 8 kids and she forgot about lunch. So
that was me. That was me in middle school.
So you find tables.
Yeah.
And I think in life, what's interesting to me is, my wife and I, we travel a lot.
Yeah.
And I was in like a Hindu temple in Sri Lanka. And this beautiful couple was all dressed up in their temple clothing, and they had this newborn baby, and they were handing it to this guy in a towel, and he was doing something with fruit. And I don't understand Hinduism, but right there I saw this couple emotional for that child. And I grew up in the Mormon tradition where you bless your child, and like that's the way it's supposed to be. And then here I'm looking at this Hindu couple in a Hindu temple doing the same scenario, and the mother's just weeping, the father's just and I thought that's it right there, because this child is getting a safe environment, parents who love each other, who are committed to each other. So to me, that was Jesus right there. I was in Oman, Muscat, Oman, which we think of as, a world where there's terrorism. They're all terrorists. They look like terrorists, blah, blah, blah. And I was watching TV, and I saw these guys in their Muslim garb, and they were in SUVs, and they were speeding real fast, and they had like walkie-talkies, and they were chasing something. And I was like, oh my gosh, they look like the Taliban. I mean, what's going on here? This is scary. I called my wife, you got to see this. Something's going down. And then all of a sudden I saw like this camel running with like spit coming out of its mouth. And I'm like, and then you hear the commentators in Arabic. It was a camel race. So my world in America taught me that you profile the terrorist, but they were camel people. They were like cheering on their camel, like, okay, put 20 quid down on this guy, blah, 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 blah. And that's the irony in our lives, is we see things that we think, like the Wizard of Oz, we think that's what it is. But, bring in the dog, because the dog will expose what's really going on behind the curtain. And I think we need to be looking for what's behind the curtain.
Energetically, right? It's like if we don't get curious and we think our judgments are quote unquote the truth, then we don't look for things like that. We won't see it any other way. We start to perceive the world exactly as we are, and not as the world is. Like, you could have seen that whole situation as you were, walked away from that event and said that's the way it was, and the truth you would have been speaking to the world, the thing you would have owned, would be that thing you made up. And the truth is something totally different. What was really going on was totally different.
That is right. Truth is relevant, because if you lived on Jupiter, Nick, and I said, hey, how was your day you'd be like, really long.
I'm still in it.
Yeah, because I'd be like, oh, my day was 24 hours. How long was yours? So your truth of a day is different from my truth living on Earth. So when people say, hey, truth, blah, blah, blah. Look, for me, love is this pregnant woman, because a pregnant woman is the most pure, incredible thing on Earth. And God always uses that analogy of a pregnant woman or a mother about to give birth, and the child in the womb is truth, and it's born out of love. So we men have hijacked truth at the expense of women to manage and control and be territorial over women, territorial over everything. But love is the child that comes, that gives birth to a truth, and it doesn't come out of that love. Yes, it is very true. Whatever. If love does not come out of that, if truth does not come out of that love, then that truth is irrelevant. And divides people.
We see today the masking of fear as truth. Like going back to the idea of I'm doing it because I care, or I don't want to get hurt. I don't want you to get hurt. And it's all this protective stuff, which is fear. But we're saying it in the name of love, but it's fear. And so looking past that getting into the true love, like that love space, is really an acceptance of what is, and an acceptance of how others are and who they are and how they show up, And it doesn't mean a tolerance like in the space of, I agree with how you're showing up, but I can accept that's where you are.
Yeah.
And I don't have to force you to live it my way.
I think consciousness comes into play a lot. I do this because being aware and bringing it into your heart and taking a good long look at who you be, how you are, what makes you operate, and the understanding yourself. Once you understand and can even shed the judgments of yourself, the judgments of others, and it opens your eyes. It almost takes off like these blinders or this weight, where you can then turn around and see others for their we call it their giant potential, but it's really their divine potential, their universal potential, their miracleness, if you will, of just how they be.
Ryan, you're hitting on like, where are you coming from when you're going to wherever you're going? Like that, where you're coming from, that who you're being is where you're coming from. It's not where you left, like the location. It's just who you're being when you're creating into the world. It's where you're coming from. And man, that can really impact things.
I see that with Paul, like who he is his launch pad for where he's going and what he's doing and how he's growing growing. His creation process is amazing, man. We'll sit and talk, and it'll seem like it's a couple of months, and all of a sudden Paul's got, I got a new album, a new book, did this, was in 42 other places, and I'm like, holy cow, just in awe of his creation. Recently, last year he put out an album and a book, and then turned around and followed it right back up with another album, and that's what people were talking about with December. And we just, we're still in September. We've got the just released September Wins, right?
Yeah.
Talk about your creation and talk about like where you come from in moving forward with a way of being and projects and so other people at home can look at it. They might not be able to, to do exactly what you're doing, but they can be inspired by how you are and what you create.
I think the beauty in creation, Robert Kennedy said, to dream of things that were never dreamt of before, to create things that were never created before. And when we create, as you guys know, and Nick, with your books and everything, and those that are writing, that it is the most powerful form of therapy. Whether you're journaling your thoughts, you're creating something that empowers other people. Like when I sit at a piano and the tones that come from playing it, the piano to me is like the world, and the keys is like life, and I want to understand the mystery. And so I recently, when I went in to make this new album, with the first song is September Winds, I wanted a broken piano. I'm a Steinway endorsed artist. I can get the finest $250,000 Steinway. I did that on my album Peaceful Piano. And I had the top Grammy engineer guy come in. It's perfect. It's flawless. But I wanted a broken piano, completely out of tune, because that's how I see myself. I'm not a Steinway. I'm not a butterfly. I'm a moth. I'm a
You're a beautiful moth, bro.
Thank you. I wouldn't be the one
soft-handed, beautiful moth.
I'm that guy coming to the light, like back and forth, like annoying the hell out of people.
But, I picture the caterpillar / cat on Alice in Wonderland just smoking opioids. Like, what's up, man?
Or the fly.
Yeah.
The fly. What's his name?
Yeah.
That's me. Hey. But no, I think creating, I sat down at this piano and I wanted to just turn it into something beautiful. So September Winds was recorded on that. And it's interesting because you don't hear the imperfections of that piano. You noticed it's slightly out of tune. But then I brought in a string arranger, Josie, and she just layered these cellos and violins. And it, if you've heard the soundtrack to Nomad Land, that won the Oscar for Best Picture, Ludovico Einaudi, who's one of my colleagues, like it has that kind of cinematic sound that exposes all of our emotions. And one thing I have on my website, paulcardall.com, is the clinical benefits of listening to the type of music, because when you do, it's proven it will boost your immune system. It will decrease your chances of getting dementia. And there's serotonin levels that come in and just seem to, we want to self-soothe from our trauma, from our pain. People turn to drugs, people turn to, sex. There's all these things that we turn to, people turn to, and I think creating is one of the most powerful ways to self-soothe, where you are not only blessing your life, but you're blessing the lives of other people. So writing music for me and then giving it out to the world, it's a very vulnerable thing, but it also allows me to process everything. And then I send it off, and I still can't believe like people are like aware of it, 160 countries, people of all faiths, and people that we've talked about that are all the table, they're all discovering it, and it blows my mind that
So
it's like
somebody,
what you guys have created. It's like you had a desire to empower people to be giants, and it's expanding because it's such a needful, purposeful scenario.
the creation thing that you're talking about is what brought me out of my deepest depression. And I was talking to somebody this morning in our program that we created, the 12 Journeys. We talk about depression as a tool, and one of the things that it does is it causes you to step back and reflect on what's not working, and really step into reality again and have a reverence for what is, which opens you up to empathy and caring more than any other feeling that we have, emotion that we have. And then from that space, we have an opportunity to re-engage with the world. And creation is one of those ways that gets you re-engaged with the world and helps you to find new solutions. And that's what depression is all designed for, is to bring you through that darkness. So you step away and stop putting energy into something that no longer serves you and move it to something that's more creative. It's like, it's a pathfinder. And I am at my best when I'm in creation. And I put it on hold, even creating the Tribe of Giants, the Wake Up with Giants TV, the radio show, all of these things, being in that creative space is so fulfilling for me. I reached out to my artist. I've got another book that I'll have created, the illustrations created this next year, completely different story. But I'm going to start working on that for next year. And just being able to be in that space of creation soothes my body, serves the world. Like, it makes an impact.
I think even if you don't think you have any talent or any, a talent is, for me, you discover a gift and you work on that gift. It becomes a talent. So when people say you're blessed with talents, it's because you know your gift and you've developed that. So if you don't think you have a gift, I know several people that wanted to write a song that have no musical talent whatsoever. And I sat down and worked with them, and I said, just write down your thoughts. Just write down what you want it to be, what you want it to sound like, what you want this to do. And this gentleman just wrote down scripture that he really liked, because he's a very religious dude. And then I said, okay, now just try to figure out how to rhyme that. Get your rapper mind on. This prestigious white guy.
Yeah.
Get your Snoop.
That's
Get your
me.
Snoop. Yeah, this was David Bednar. He's an apostle in the LDS Church. I said, get your Snoop Dogg on.
You go, hello, friends, and it's time to see David Bednar.
He's like, I ain't sleeping. I ain't sleeping. I got a couple homies, anyways, and we ain't leaving till 6 a.m. So, but I had him just write down, like challenge, just write down his thoughts, and out of that, I said, you see how there's a pattern with what you're creating? And he in his humility, basically was like, oh, oh, I can do this. I can do this. And I think anybody, whether you're, I know 80-year-old people that have picked up writing or picked up art. Every
Yeah.
millionaire starts painting in their
Yeah.
50s and 60s. Now we have to
Right.
see, we have to see their art, which is like good for the motels. But I think we need to just create,
Yeah. Yeah.
Ryan does this with his food. Like I've never had like, we all wanted to marry the guy because of the way he cooks. I mean, it's insane. Amazing.
Yeah. It opens up possibilities, right?
And that's
want to
okay.
go.
Thank you.
Yeah. I want to go back. There was a comment or a question about the heart chakra. Somebody asked about the heart chakra and how your open heart surgery, your new heart, impacted your heart chakra. You may or may not believe in that or have thoughts around that, but if you do, what do you think? Yeah.
Well, my zodiac, I'm a Taurus, and I was born the year of an ox.
Hey,
So
Paul Cardall has done Reiki. He knows.
I did. Oh my gosh, I love Reiki. It's crazy amazing. Like
I
I
got
had
you, Amanda.
experience. I had an experience with that, and man, it is so cleansing. And I think it's okay to try different forms of religious, or if you don't think it's religious, rituals in an effort to understand and learn if this is something that works for you. You've got to test and try all kinds of things. And when I did the Reiki, I was like, I learned things that I knew in my subconscious, but I didn't realize, like, man. But as far as the chakra, like, yeah, I'm a different person. J.D. Netto, who wrote The Broken Miracle, which is a fictional story based on my life. In the story, we named my first heart, and I have these conversations with him. We named it Sawyer. My favorite song is Tom Sawyer by Rush, but my favorite book is, Giants and Smalls. Well,
Oh yeah, of course.
And
Sawyer was Rit's brother.
Yeah,
He
Huck
too
Finn.
became a giant.
There you go, Huck Finn. He was his dog, Huck Finn, and but then
he was at the table in the giant picture, the dog. That was Sawyer. Yeah.
So then I'm in the plus Sawyer from Lost, who was my favorite character on the show Lost, and we did a theme for that show. But then I get this new heart, and now I name him John. We name him Johnny Cash in part 2 that's coming out soon. And I have these conversations with Cash because Cash has demons. But Johnny Cash, we all know Johnny Cash had demons. But if there was no Johnny Cash, Chris Christopherson would have never conquered his drug addiction. Christopherson went and lived with June and Johnny, and they helped him get over the meth, the heroin.
Wow.
He would have been the Star Is Born. He literally would have died. We wouldn't have all these couple songs from Christopherson. So Cash is a moth. He's been in the darkness, but he's obsessed with the light, and so I name my heart Cash, and I have these conversations like, dude, I don't know. He's like a demon, but he's also like, it's like, dude, what are you doing to me, man? Why are you like, so there's a big difference between the first heart and the second heart. It's like I had a dump truck that's pretty cool, and then they gave me the keys to a Porsche, and I don't know how to drive it, and you have to learn. But I don't know if that answers your question.
No, that was good for me. I would have made something up, so that was way better than I would have done. So you did good. The whole concept here of getting and living from the heart, having that separation. You have a literal separation from your nerves to your heart, and all of us have an opportunity to create that blending of the two, that 18-inch drop, as some people say. But it really takes slowing down and opening up. Some people operate from their predictions and then experience. So they predict it and then experience it. And what you're suggesting here is to experience and then pull in what works and what doesn't work as an option too. Like rather than predicting it, you're cutting yourself off to experiences Whereas you could be out there trying all these different like religions, views, Reiki, things that are available to us in the world, but we limit ourselves. And the heart, opening and operating from the heart, allows us to open up to those possibilities.
Yeah, I mean, I technically, man, when you took the heart out, I died. Like the old me. My mother will say he's not the same. He's a different person. I was, for 36 years, a very conservative elder brother in the prodigal son story, LDS. I did everything I was supposed to do. And I died. And I went to that operating table going, oh, yeah, I'm going to be good. I'm going to inherit the highest kingdom of glory that the church offers in the ordinances. I was that. And I think people that are in that, it's beautiful. And it's very left brain and really beautiful. But then it's almost like God's like, all right, I'm giving you a new life. So I'm on my second life, and I am not the same, not at all. I still have the same interest and desires, outdoors, music, but I am not the same. I love exposing myself to new things that I never in my wildest, like having a cup of coffee, which is so like I felt shame and guilt. But now I'm like, it has polyphenols. It's healing my liver. And my transplant team's like, I need you on the coffee to heal your liver. It's pretty scarred. I used to just eat a lot of whatever I want, drink a lot of Diet Coke. When I got COVID and it scarred my pancreas. And my wife's like, oh, hell no, you're not eating or drinking Diet Coke anymore. Occasionally, once in a while.
I offer him a Diet Pepsi first thing in the morning.
Good morning, Paul.
Good morning. I hate your pancreas.
But I hate your liver.
These were my options.
Pancreases are the worst. That's all we own.
This is how you bleed out.
I can't even afford water over here, so sorry, Paul.
Rockstar is good for bleeding out, and this is but it's okay. Britney Spears is an endorser, and Michael Jackson got his hair burned using this. But like this, like here's what's interesting. Like I went to a wedding last night in Utah, and I love my hometown. Believe it. They had a fully stocked bar of just soda, and you couldn't get this at all. And so I was like, but I used to feel so freaking guilty if I never had a cup of coffee. And so now, but then it's like, you're having a cup of coffee and why are you wearing this? Would it be better if I take this off and just do this? So, and listen, bottom line, I love the whole dynamics of it, but when you get a second chance at life, reality slips in, man. Like you have to take a table. Like here's the table analogy again, but here I am by myself at the table, and I had to clear off everything I've ever been taught, everything I've ever been told, everything I've ever believed, and then I need to start putting on that table the beliefs that have principles that will empower me to be kind and to love people. And it's a process. It takes time. But there's so much clutter on that table that was so unnecessary. And I had so many idols that kept me from fully accessing the God that I love, which is Jesus. He was not a third party administrator of some universal crazy gift you get, some reward. Bottom line for me, I recognize, look, he through the doctors, I was healed. Even my Hindu doctor said, don't praise me, man, give it all to God. And so I've tried to honor what he said, give it to God, and whatever God that is for whoever you are, even Russell Brand with his book, Addicted, recognized
great book,
a higher power, and you need to figure out what that higher power is, and then you put on the table your belief system. But above all, respect other people's systems and learn from them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Inside of this too is going to, like there's going to be people that would watch an interview like this or that follow Paul Cardall, because you have a much wider audience that follows you. And there's going to be people that would judge that. And inside of that, I would challenge people to listen to the first part of this again, and to sit with, with yourself, and understand the it's 10:10 here, by the way, and
We have 111 comments.
yeah, and
11 active
almost
viewers.
1 hour and 11 minutes here. But inside of all of that, it took me a long time to shed, like to feel worthy, because of the judgments that I had about myself, the things that I had been taught, as a kid. And not that they're bad. There were a lot of good ways of living and being, but I always felt like I was unworthy, or living up to an expectation that I was never going to hit, because I didn't pray enough, because I didn't attend church enough, because I didn't read scriptures enough, because I didn't do this or that enough. When the truth is that I was always enough, and that I'm always worthy. And I think that's why the Giants message, it resonates so much with me, because it already says that you're a giant already. The truth is all the smalls in the story that are sitting there, doing the same thing, just not being aware of it, are already giants. They just don't know, or haven't woken up to their giant potential, or worried about the judgments of others, or their own judgments, or their own fears. That's the truth is, they're already giants. They're already worthy to receive. They don't. They're already worthy. And so I would say to those people that have just watched that and hear Paul hold up his cup of coffee or his way of being, is before you throw that judgment out, look at your life, look at yourself, and see where you're at. And then for me, I had to learn to love and hold space. It can be a skill that has to be developed and nourished and worked on, because people will challenge that ability. They might do something that offends or makes you angry, or the emotions pop up inside of things. And I've had to sit with myself and say, okay, this is coming up for me when somebody does this or when somebody says that. But who am I? What am I doing? How could I love that person? I start thinking possibility thinking. How could I see that person differently? How can I have that Heineken moment?
Yeah.
And that's what Jesus, or God, universe, source, the divine. There are no judgments like that.
No.
There's 2 commandments: love God and love others. So, which go just, if you don't believe in
It's not
God,
enough
go.
rules.
Yeah,
I need more rules.
just go
Let's
That's
change
right,
that.
man.
yeah, just go love each other. If you don't believe in God, just go love. Hey,
Yeah,
boom.
one of the best, dude. I want to echo everything you said, Ryan, because there is, as a Christian, there's a scripture that says, "Let no debt remain except this: see that you love one another, for love hath fulfilled the law." There used to be so many laws for ancient Israel. Jesus
More
comes
rules,
and
please. I'll
says,
take
"Don't." He
20,000.
he pretty much said, "Don't be a jerk. Be kind, reach out, feed the poor, help people, take care of one another." But it was love. So again, the pregnant woman is truth, is love, and she gives birth to truth. If that truth does not come out of a place of love, it's a lie. And Zach Williams sings that song that's so incredible. Fear is a liar. Fear is the opposite of love, not hate. Fear. Um, but I really appreciate and love what you guys are doing, and everybody out there that you have giant, giant potential. You are giants. You know, puppies become dogs. giants become giants. Just believe it,
Love it.
take it in, absorb it, and just keep listening to what these incredible guys are doing.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you.
Hey, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other final thoughts before we wrap up the show?
I want to hurry real quick, and then Paul, then you give us your final thoughts, but which is probably trademarked, by the way. I'm sorry. There are some final thoughts out there. It's a great show. Anyway, first of all, just gratitude for the person that you are and that you've always been. The experiences that you've had to be here right now in this moment of time, not just selfishly because you're in my living room, but for everyone, and for yourself, for being such an amazing human being, and the ups and downs, and learning from that experience, and continuing to want to grow and to hit new heights and new levels, and then help others along the way. And then the open, accepting person that you are, that speaks volumes of your character, and I appreciate that. And then also for just taking the time, because you could be in a million places right now, and so my gratitude meter is very, very high, that you would spend some time with us. I mean, not just a little bit, an hour and 16 minutes so far, and so thank you for taking time out of your schedule on a Sunday morning to get up early with us, and to come to Morristown. Somebody says right here, you says must be time for Ryan Morristown to make lunch. That's true. That is true. Thanks for coming to Morristown. We appreciate it.
Oh man. Yeah. I'm just honored that God put me in Heber City for that event with Richard Paul Evans, that I got to be able to sit next to both of you. We became friends that night. I had a lot of laughs, and you guys just listened to me go off and rant and talk and all kinds of things. So I'm so grateful for you, and to everybody out there, if you want to see Ryan half naked, you have to watch.
Yeah, we just lost all our viewers. They just like,
well, it's fascinating.
The opposite of moths to a flame.
Yeah, go to my website and watch the adventure, how to make a sauna. Ryan, and we sweat in that lodge together, man. It's hilarious.
No.
Yeah. Not a hair on his chest. Not a hair on his chest. So it was amazing to watch. We didn't even blur anything, man. So
blur. That's all you see, actually. Yeah, it was just blur anyway because there was so much sweatness going on.
We're wiping it off, but
right.
Yeah, I mean, bottom line, look, life is full of irony. It's hard. I do believe that there's a customized curriculum for each one of us. We are not intended to be the same. We're not made to be the same. We are meant to be, a different color, a different thing in God's painting. And he is creating this incredible canvas. It's not our story, it's his story. And we're all puzzles in that beautiful picture. And when we start to, and I need this, and I preach, I talk a lot, but I'm talking to myself, is when we see that other puzzle pieces are equally of value in that master puzzle piece, that it makes sense. But if you're just looking at it from your own puzzle, makes no sense. But and Nick, Nick, dude, I'm so inspired by you and your creation, your vision. You are a visionary, so I'm just honored to know you.
Thank you.
Love both you guys.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. Love you too, man. Man, to finalize here, for those that are watching, I don't have that on. I've just got a motorcycle. But remember, and I'm adopting this as a symbol here, is wherever you are is exactly where you're supposed to be. So keep stepping, make it a giant day. We'll see you in the next video.
Love you too.